Welcome back, this is CerealSnax. Once again, I'm looking at Guild Wars 2, and today I was kind of taking a quick look at the Thief class. It's a class I've been playing in the most recent stress tests that have been happening. And, you know, I played a lot of the Engineer, and I wanted to test out the Thief, to see how it differed. I've kind of gravitated towards the Thief just because I've played Rogues in past MMOs, and it just kind of appeals to me. So you can see you've got some weapon skills here. You've got the main hand sword weapon skills, the Infiltrator Strike, Flanking Strike, and then of course you get skills with your offhand weapons. So if you dual wield, you can actually have a sword in your main hand and then a pistol in your offhand, and you get Pistol Whip. Or if you have a light weapon, you get Stab. So one of the really awesome things about Thieves and all the characters in the game is that you have ranged abilities. So you get Short Bow, which I've trained up on this character, which can, you know, this one is a trick shot, hits multiple targets, hits 3 targets actually. So Thieves actually have a lot of burst damage type attacks, and they do pretty high damage compared to a lot of the other classes. Although they do need to be sort of close up, which is a disadvantage because their armor is so light. So you kind of are a squishy class, if you know that term. You have medium like leather armor, but it's not very effective. You can see you got these area effect, Infiltrator's Arrow, which allows you to actually shadow step up to your foes, and then of course the poison gas area effect. So it's got some nice attacks as a Thief. I like the style of attacks. I like how they're done. I also like that you can do melee if you want to, unlike the Engineer, which is purely ranged that I showed you before. You got Heart Seeker, which actually leaps to your target. So a lot of attacks that are very Thief oriented, and you can jump to your target, and you also have a lot of abilities to get away from your target. So this one stuns them, cripples your foes. See, this one says stab your foe and vanish in stealth, leaving them vulnerable. So you can actually attack and then quickly retreat, or, you know, engage quickly and then get out of the way quickly. And that's really what you need to do as a Thief. It's not a class where you can just run up and stand there and click attack, because you will die. It's a matter of moving around a lot. So you can see this is the pistol attacks, which are very similar to the bow, same range, although slightly less damage. So it's more of a, the pistol seems like more of a stunning type thing. You can see the damage there, 21 on the bow, 15 on the vital shot. But what the pistol does do is it causes a lot more condition type damage, it seems like. So like this one, headshot stuns them, blinding. So it has more of the kind of crowd control type stuff on the pistol. And then of course you can have an offhand dagger and offhand light, just like the other stuff. And then of course these down here are the underwater weapons. You can either have a spear or a harpoon gun, which of course do multiple different things. So something to look at. Now the other thing that the Thief has, of course, is the skills. It has a vanish skill, which allows you to then heal. So that's neat. And one thing I've found is that when you do that around creatures in the wild, they stop attacking you, which is very helpful when you're trying to get away. And then of course you have these other ones that you can put in that same slot. Now I may buy one here just to show you, because I haven't bought my utility skill at level 7 yet. They got multiple things, tripwire, of course these signets, which are more like passive, although they do have active stuff like the shadow step. So yet another shadow step ability, tons of shadow step abilities for the Thief. This is like a shadow, and this one gives you shadow return, which you can shadow step to your enemy and then shadow step away from them, so you can actually do a burst attack and then jump away. I'll probably do this Scorpion Wire. That's kind of neat. Scorpion Wire, you attack them and it actually pulls them to you, kind of like Scorpion in Mortal Kombat. So that's a nod to that. So those are kind of the basic skills for the Thief. I like the mixture they have between ranged and melee. Gives you a little bit more variety than the pure ranged classes like the Ranger and the Engineer. So let's just attack this Crimson Moa, and I'll show you kind of what, you know, the attack rotations can be like. I'm not, you know, going to give you a real specific attack rotation that's purely amazing, but you can see here I just used my basic attack, and then I used my Heart Strike, which is the second one, which actually lets you jump to your enemy, and I'm using an offhand pistol, so you can see I can stun the Crimson Moa. Pretty straightforward. Now he's a higher level than I am, so I'm actually taking quite a bit of damage. So I just edited some there because I was having some trouble actually. I'm level 5 and I'm having some issues with these creatures, these Crimson Moas, but part of the reason is too, if you're watching me fight here, I'm not actually dodging. I'm not actually doing what I told you should do, which is to shadow step in and shadow step away. There's another attack here that I'm showing you there. I did my little vanish. but you see that attack that I have my mouse over? You can actually shadow step to your enemy and steal one of their attacks, more or less, and then use that attack against them. So far that hasn't been really effective for me, but sometimes you get a neat little attack that they have. The problem with it, I find, is that it's not consistent, so you can't depend on consistent damage from that strange little skill. So here's my Vanish and Heal, which confuses the enemy here because he doesn't know where I went, and I'm going to take him out readily. Now, like I said, I didn't do a lot of dodging there, and I probably should have. Alright, I am back again fighting. This is like a one character, and this time I'm going to do a little bit more dodging just to show you. There's my stun. Now, the really neat part about having range as a thief, or any class really, is you can kite these guys to a great extent, especially this guy. See, I keep vanishing and jumping backwards. It's one of my... I'm using pistol and dagger, so I've got different skills here. And the one I'm using is called the... I believe it's called the Cloak and Dagger, which is stabs your foe and then you vanish, leaving them vulnerable. So I've got that. There's also one that allows me to actually fire a shot and then shadow step back. And then here's my dodge that I'm doing as well. And sometimes you can see, you saw just there a second ago, when I did the dodge, it actually said evaded. So he was about to attack me, and I hit the dodge at the correct moment and evaded. That is a huge thing in Guild Wars 2, and that's something that you don't see in games like World of Warcraft, where you kind of just stand there and fight. You actually have to be watching your enemy to see when they're going to attack. See, I didn't do it very well right there. The circle of attack popped down, and I did not evade. I'm going to try to do it the best I can. I'm still kind of getting used to this type of combat. It's very much oriented on you just trying to move. See, now there's my shoot them and shadow step backwards attack, which actually put me out of range, which was not smart. So the real key is to dodge when the attack is about to hit. And usually the enemies that you're fighting will give you some sort of signal that they're going to do this. Now, I didn't catch it right then, but you can kind of see he did a certain move, and it's just like kind of like boss fights in other games. You can see there's a red ring on the ground. You don't want to be inside that, and if you are, then you would do your dodge, and that'll give you the evaded thing. See, I'm not doing too well at that here, so I'm giving a bad example of that, but the point is that when you're playing, there we go, evaded. See that? You got the evaded message. Now, the point is when you're playing human characters, it's much more difficult to anticipate that. And really one way to do it is just to watch kind of the attacks that they're doing. A lot of times the warriors and the guardians will give off some kind of signal that they're about to do their main huge big attack. And usually it's that they back up, or they spam a whole lot of their little attack, and you kind of have to anticipate that they're going to then hit you with a big attack. So that's kind of from more of a PvP perspective. From a PvE perspective, as a thief, I found that fighting these boss fights that have, even if they have ranged weapons, it's better to use my ranged weapons as well, because it give me a much better opportunity to kind of vanish in and out of stealth and you know, hop in and out of battle. So you can see I'm doing okay against this guy. Now I've cut it because, you know, I beat the guy, but I wanted to show you this other weapon, this bow, because this is the area effect kind of main burst area effect weapon that you get. It's a two-handed weapon, so you can only have the short bow. But I wanted to show it off because you can see you shoot when you're shooting groups of enemies, it's a great weapon to have because the main attack actually targets 3 enemies, and most of the secondary attacks are area effects. You can see I shot down like my poison attack. There's one that stuns them, and then there's one that shoots them and then jumps back. You see I just did that attack right there. So I really like the Thief for its utility. I like its ability to get in and out of combat. I've said that before, but you have to really kind of, I want to emphasize that. The other thing that I didn't talk about yet is this bar of diamonds that is right by your sneak attack, right above the main hotbar, and it's little diamonds that fill up. It fills up when you do your main attack, and your other attacks on the hotbar use up those diamonds. So it's a different skill than some of the other classes that actually you have to build up that energy that you then use in your attacks. I'm going to shoot off my area effect, which is nobody there, but you saw it go off, and there's a little cluster bomb. And then this is my poison attack. There we go. Oh, there was a cluster bomb, and then I did my jump back, which was probably not necessary, but I'm just kind of showing it off to you. Now, I just learned a skill, Infiltrator's Arrow, which is the final skill that you get on the short bow. And one thing that's neat about it is you shoot, and it shadow steps to the enemy. And one thing I know people have complained about is that it doesn't seem to work in World vs. World when you try to target somebody up on a rampart. You don't actually shadow step up onto the rampart to meet them, which is kind of unfortunate because that would be a real neat skill that you could have where you could shadow step up to that rampart and then jump back down, kind of thief-like, right? So hopefully they'll implement something like that, give thieves a little bit more of a utility in a PvP environment. we're just fighting. This is just an event that I was on, and there's only a few left here. What I'm going to show you next is not really related to the Thief, but I want to just kind of show off some of the things that I saw in the stress test, some things that they've added recently that I haven't talked about yet. One of which is a Vista, and Vistas give you experience if you discover them. Usually they're somewhat difficult to get to. This one's actually really easy. It's just on this industrial type pipe that is in the char area, but you can see it in the distance there. It's a little glowing map, and once you get to that area, it shows you a brief cutscene of the surrounding area, the landscape, and you actually get experience for it. And if you look at the mini map down on the bottom right, you'll see there it's like two red triangles, then fill up once you've discovered it. So when you get experience for it, so they're fun to find, kind of an exploration type item. And then this is just a final scene of me running towards the Char City. It's very steampunk. You can see the big dome in the distance. I think it's my favorite city, so I just wanted to show that off before I ended my episode. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe if you did, and I hope you liked the quick look at the Thief in Guild Wars 2.